Well, let's get some more perspective on INEC's preparedness for the 2019 general elections. And I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by the chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms, Mr. Ezenwa Wagu. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the news at 10 at this time. INEC appears very upbeat about the elections coming up in 2019. And you've been following the preparations of INEC indeed. But how confident are you in that regard?
Well, I get the sense that Professor Mahmood has earned relatively some bragging rights, but I think we need to moderate our expectations. The reason is that there is a lot of mix in an election situation. There are other stakeholders who play roles that INEC does not necessarily control. Cast your mind back to 2015 when the National Security Advisor suggested that the election be postponed. INEC never contemplated that. We saw that in Endo. Everyone was ready for Endo elections, and then the security threw in that spanner. So we need to continue to get a situation in which the different stakeholders are on the same page. This level of enthusiasm, this level of expectation that we're seeing from INEC, I hope we can get it from the politicians. I hope we can get it from the security agencies. So if all the stakeholders are agreed on this, then we're fine.
These are his words, exactly, the INEC chairman saying that the 2019 elections will be the best in the country. Given what you see now on ground, how would you say that this exercise will turn out to be the best? If you judge that from what we saw in Anambra State and what we're expecting, especially in Osun State and Ekiti.
Yeah, politicians are hitting a brick wall within INEC in terms of undermining the election. So they've turned to the voters. And one of the biggest threats for 2019 will be vote buying. And we should never contemplate a situation in which the biggest pockets are the ones we elect eventually. So we need to high the conversation around vote buying and what it means for our democracy. And I'm surprised that the INEC chairman is not putting that in the mix right now. I expect conversations to be focused around, because if you saw Edo State, it was a bazaar. We went to Ondo, the scale was up a bit. And then we went to Anambra. In the full glove of security agents, money were exchanging hands. So what that means is that people will just put their money together and say, look, 3,000, 2,000. And then we need some kind of conscientization of citizens to say, look, for every 2,000 naira you take from politicians, for every 3,000, for every 5,000, what that means is that you're not likely to have cottage industries, you're not likely going to have dispensaries, you're not likely going to have functional schools, you're not going to have functional health services. We need to put that to our people. And so I'm mooting a conversation in which we play up the issue of vote buying, what it means. We will also see escalated violence. Because once there is a possibility of alternation of power, the tendency for violence to be used to stall the process is very high.
If I may just come inside here very quickly, INEC has also projected about 80 million registered voters for the elections in 2019. But we know a lot of the PVCs have not been collected to this time. And he has also alluded to the fact that low voter turnout is a problem for INEC. He did cite a local government area here in Lagos that by-elections were held and only about 2%, just over 2% came out to vote. Why do we have that kind of situation at this time of electoral awareness?
Well, the word you used is the correct term, collection. Because you have to collect physically, you have to be there by yourself to collect, we are having those challenges. If it were distribution, if we were distributing, because we've not been able to interrogate the collusion that takes place during voter registration exercise. Communities are told a lie that the amenities that come to their place has something to do with their voting strength.
Who's telling them the lies?
Politicians, of course. So they collude, there is that collusion to pad up the voter registers. And so many times, even people who are not around are eventually, their names find their way into the registers. The example for that is what happened in Kogi. You had signatures, you know. If we didn't do that verification, we would have had fake names coming into the register. So we need to interrogate the voter register and make sure that we clean it up in such a way so that these figures that we post most of the time will be real to the extent that, because in 2015, before you forget, we had 67,000 people, prospective voters, and we had less than 29 million people voting. So what that tells me is that our voter register needs to be interrogated and cleaned up in such a way that it will become something that we can rely on, something that can be authentic, something that everyone can agree with.
That's a good place to let it rest. I want to thank you so much indeed. The Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms, Mr. Ezenwa Nwagu. Thank you so much indeed for talking to us
Thank you.
Here